Okay, let's talk about Mars retrograde for all 12 zodiac signs. First of all, Mars is the god of war. Mars is what makes athletes athletes. Mars is what makes warriors warriors. It gives them the drive, the determination, the focus to complete the mission, to cross the finish line. When Mars turns retrograde, Mars slows way down and begins moving slowly back through the part of the sky it's already crossed. So, this year, 2020, we have Mars retrograding in the sign of Aries, which it rules, beginning tonight, September 9th, and ending on the 14th of November. So, a little preface, Mars entered Aries on the 28th of June, so it's already been in the sign of Aries for quite a while. This evening, Mars stations retrograde. That's September 9th. And this is when Mars has completely stopped and begins to slowly move in what appears to be the reverse direction from our perspective here on Earth. On the 17th of October, we will see the halfway point of this cycle. Mars will be incredibly bright and close to the Earth. And we will see Mars throughout the whole night because it's opposite the Sun. So when the Sun sets, Mars will rise in the east, have a glorious bright red star going all through the sky until it sets at dawn as the Sun rises. Then on November 14th, Mars stations direct. So it slows down to a stop again and begins moving forward through the part of the zodiac which it is now crossing for a third time. Right? And so then, once Mars is once again moving forwards, it will finally leave the sign of Aries for the sign of Taurus on January 6th, 2021. So, a couple general tips and tricks for dealing with this time where we're going to see a lot more aggression, a lot less calmness. Tempers are much more likely to fly off the hook. So it's really important that you keep your chill, no matter what. It's also important to slow down and be more patient than you would normally, especially with other people. If they are, more likely to be impatient, then you would do well to be patient with them. And with everyone in general. Where you can, I would advise that you diffuse tensions rather than exacerbating them or outright ignoring them, because that wouldn't be a good strategy either. And in general, I suggest that you use your energy wisely. Don't waste your time on unimportant things. Don't exert yourself unnecessarily. Be very conservative with your time and your energy. And in general, one should always think before they speak or react to a given circumstance. That's going to be particularly handful. If you're the kind of person who's prone to anger, count down before you respond to someone. If you feel yourself getting angry, just count down from 10 or 5, whatever it is. In general, we also want to avoid succumbing to impulse decisions of any kind. Impulse buying, impulse punching someone in the face. Whatever it is, just remember to think before you speak, act, react, whatever it is. And most importantly, keep your chill, no matter what. Okay? So, Mars is stationing retrograde at 28 degrees Aries tonight, the 9th of September. Let's do a quick interpretation for all 12 zodiac signs. Starting with Taurus, the sign of the bull. Taurus, you're going to have Mars transiting through your 12th house. This is the house of isolation and enemies. It might be that you are, for some reason, more isolated from your friends, your family. That would be unusual, wouldn't it? It's also likely that this might be a time of self-undoing. Not all of us have enemies, and we are often actually our own worst enemies. So Taurus rising people, really make sure that you are not contributing to your own self-undoing by engaging in bad habits or deliberately isolating yourself from others. That said, Some isolation is good, and if you can use this time positively to work on, say, your meditation practice or your lucid dreaming practice, that would be a great way to deal with this transit. Also, people who work in prisons or hospitals, these kinds of people already work in a 12th house environment, so the transit will be a little bit different if that's your working situation. Gemini! This is a Mars retrograde in your 11th house, Gemini, so it's going to relate to your friends and networks. It might be that some of your friends have a lot on their plate. It might be stressful for them. It might be angry for them. Some of them might be going through some genuine trauma or anguish during this time, so keep tabs on them and be there for them in a positive way if you are someone with friends who are having difficulties. Additionally, you might actually have difficulties with your friends, and so that's even more of a call to be a calm and helpful friend rather than, just provoking that fire more. Cancer. This is a 12th house transit, so it's going to relate to work and career. You might be having difficulties at work. There might be a change of direction in the workplace, which is a bit confusing. There might be delays, upsets, angry managers, angry customers, bad feedback, whatever it is. Just stay super zen throughout it all. It might be that you also need a change of career path, and that's something that could come around at this time also. Leo rising. You've got Mars transiting through your 9th house. This is the house of long-distance travel, philosophy, metaphysics, and also higher education. So if you're a student, you might be having troubles with your professors or tutors right now. If you're not a student, this could represent a time of altering or reassessing your metaphysics, your view on life. Maybe you've been subscribing to some ideas for some time that just aren't standing up to the same kind of review that they used to. So it's time for you to work that stuff out. For those of you who might be tempted to travel to other countries, if you're able to do that right now, just be careful. You don't want to travel somewhere and then have to quarantine for half a month when you return to your home country. Additionally, there just might be trouble overseas for you in some sense. So be very careful if you are traveling abroad. Virgo rising. This is a 8th house transit, pardon me. And this is the house of taxes and debts. So if you're not in debt, good. Keep it that way. Please avoid getting into debt. Debt is unpleasant. Additionally, you want to make sure that any kind of taxes or payments that you might owe to the government or whomever, make sure those are all covered and sorted. This would not be a good time to get struck with some kind of penalty for tax evasion or something similar, given how difficult the economic climate is. Libra rising. So Libra, Mars is going to be retrograding in your 7th house. There might be difficulties with your spouse or partner right now. If you don't have a spouse or partner, if you're single, it could just refer to one of your closest friends, someone who you have regular one-on-one contact with. Oftentimes with this kind of transit, it might be that the other person is really angry or they're experiencing things that are making them angry. They might be experiencing hostility in the workplace, for instance. So whilst they might be really angry in general, they might not be really angry with you. So there's an opportunity here to help your friend or loved one through what is probably going to be a more difficult time for them than for you. Scorpio rising. Okay, here we go. This is a transit through the 6th house, and Mars is also the lord of Scorpio. So this is going to be an interesting one. If you are a Scorpio or a Scorpio rising, this is the perfect opportunity to look at your daily routine, look at your habits, You know, do you have good habits? Do you have bad habits? Are you healthy? Do you keep up a good exercise routine? Are you eating the right things? Are you even, thinking the right things? How's your relationship with your colleagues? Are they healthy relationships and productive because of it? Or are there some issues that need to be worked out? Regardless, this one I think is probably going to be the Mars retrograde is going to be a little easier maybe for the Scorpio risings. Additionally, we should also add here that if you are someone who was born with Mars retrograde, the Mars retrograde time will be easier for you to deal with than those people who do not have Mars retrograde in their natal charts. So, Scorpios, stay chill, stay healthy. That brings us to Sagittarius. Sagittarius is having Mars transit through the 5th house, the house of creativity and children. So if you work with children or you're a parent, this could have something to do with your children. So keep an eye on them, ensure that they are playing safely, that they're not causing harm to themselves. Could also be related to, kids going back to school, that there might be a pressure, especially among the younger ones or even among teenagers, for them to kind of like break loose and have fun. And that obviously could be dangerous in the current situation. For those of you who don't have children, and specifically for those of you who don't want children, use protection. Just do it. You'll thank me later. Additionally, this might also represent a time where people feel a kind of slowing down in their creative input and maybe feeling a bit stuck, got a bit of writer's block or something like that. And this would be a time actually just to relax and take the pressure off of your creativity, and hopefully taking the pressure off will allow you to find some kind of new inspiration. That's for the artists out there. Okay, next we have Capricorn. This is a transit through the 4th house for you, Capricorn. That's the home and family. If you live with your family, be nice to them. They are more likely to have heightened tempers, shorter fuses. So if you're aware of Mars retrograde going on and you are living with your family, just do your absolute best to keep everyone happy, super chill vibes. Everyone can get along. If you don't live with your family, it could be your housemates, anyone you live with. If you live by yourself, maybe it's time to do some home decorating, some very, very, very late spring cleaning, some autumn cleaning, whatever it is. Capricorns, just make sure everything's good in the home and you can keep being productive out there in the world. Okay, Aquariuses, you will have Mars transiting through the 3rd house, the house of siblings and neighbors. If you're an only child, that makes this really easy. Just, keep your neighbors cool. Avoid, fighting with your neighbors. I know this can be difficult. Not everyone gets along with their neighbors. The other thing here is if you're taking short trips, so like trips in your country or in your county, your state, trips across the city, just be mindful, always look both ways before crossing the road, all that good stuff. Just be safe when you're out on the street, essentially. Okay, for you Pisces, we've got Mars transiting through the 2nd house of money and values. So, this is an interesting one. It can go a couple different ways. It might be for some of you that there's very little money coming in and there's a lot of money going out. Mars might help you burn through that cash, which might not be a good thing in the current global situation. Alternatively, you might also have no cash and as a result be incredibly motivated to get cash. You might have to go to greater lengths than you would normally to acquire the same amount of cash. But in any case, the thing here is just getting the budget right. Make sure you're earning more than you spend. And if that's not the situation, do whatever you can to make it the situation. Okay? Last but not least, that brings us to the sign of Aries, where Mars, your ascendant ruler, is retrograding through your first house. Now again, this one can be positive or negative. If you are someone born with Mars in retrograde in your natal chart, then this will probably be more of a positive transit for you. If you have Mars direct, then it's more likely to be challenging. So, with the first house, we might have an Aries individual who is either feeling completely depleted of energy, initially, I would say. For the stationing of the retrograde, that would be more likely. It might be that later on in the month or next month you get a bit more energy. But in general, the thing here is you. Keep yourself calm. Stay relaxed. Do everything very deliberately. Take your time, okay? If you have excess energy, right, rather than allowing it to just burst out of you in some kind of uncontrolled manner, go to the gym. Do some meditation. Work with your body. If there's excess energy or a lack of energy, the Aries rising individual is going to need to work with their body in a very mindful and controlled way to use whatever energy they have appropriately. The other thing here is just keep a lid on your own anger. That's really important. And even if you yourself don't feel particularly angry, it might be that other people are perceiving you as being more aggressive than usual.